We are taught to fear the sting. We spend millions on herbicides to wipe it from our sight. We warn our children to avoid it. We wear long pants near ditches where it grows. But what if that pain was actually a security system? A biological electric fence protecting the most concentrated mineral deposit on the surface of the earth? There is a plant in your backyard that contains 4 times the calcium of whole milk. It has more iron than spinach and more protein than almost any other leafy green on the planet. Yet the $600 billion dairy industry would prefer you keep looking at the cow. This is Urtica dioica, the stinging nettle, the plant that survived the Bronze Age, fueled the Roman legions, clothed medieval Europe, and is currently being systematically destroyed, so you keep buying supplements you do not need from companies that profit from your ignorance. That sting you were taught to hate is not an attack. It is a gate. And behind that gate is a pharmacy that costs nothing, grows everywhere, and wants to be harvested. In 55 BC, Roman soldiers marched into the cold, damp forests of Britain. They didn't just bring swords, they brought nettles. Historians recorded that the legions would beat their own legs with nettle leaves during long marches through freezing rain. This process was called urtication. The sting triggered massive blood flow to the extremities. It generated heat in limbs that would otherwise go numb. It kept soldiers fighting when the climate should have stopped them. This was not folk medicine practiced by peasants who knew no better. This was military strategy employed by the most sophisticated fighting force the ancient world had ever seen. The Romans understood something we have forgotten. Pain is not always damage. Sometimes pain is activation. In Denmark, archaeologists discovered burial shrouds dating back thousands of years. The fabric was not cotton. It was not linen. It was not wool. It was woven entirely from nettle fiber before industrial agriculture gave us cheap cotton. From colonized lands, Europe clothed itself in what they called the green silk. Nettle fiber is stronger than linen. It is softer against the skin with age. It is antimicrobial. We didn't just eat this plant for 4,000 years. We wore it. We wrapped our dead in it. We built entire textile economies around it. It was not a weed. It was the foundation of the European apothecary and the European wardrobe simultaneously. Consider what you have been taught about calcium. Drink your milk. Strong bones require dairy. This messaging is so deeply embedded in Western culture that questioning it feels almost heretical. But examine the numbers. A cup of whole milk contains approximately 125 milligrams of calcium. A cup of cooked nettle greens contains 481 milligrams. That is not a marginal improvement. That is nearly 4 times the concentration from a source that requires no cows, no pastures, no refrigeration, no hormones, no antibiotics, and no purchase. But calcium is only one line on the nutritional profile. A single cup of nettle provides 25% of your daily iron requirement. It contains significant amounts of magnesium, potassium, and manganese. It delivers complete protein with all essential amino acids in ratios that rival legumes. And then there is the mineral that nobody talks about, because the supplement industry has not yet figured out how to bottle it effectively. Boron. Nettle is one of the few plants that mines boron from deep subsoil layers where modern agriculture never reaches. Boron is the mineral that tells your body to actually retain calcium instead of excreting it. You can drink all the milk you want, but without adequate boron, that calcium passes through your system without building bone. The nettle is not just a calcium source. It is a self-contained bone-building kit that includes the instructions your body needs to use what it receives. A 2013 study published in peer-reviewed literature demonstrated that nettle extract significantly reduced markers of oxidative stress in liver tissue. It is not just a food. It is a biological filter that supports the organ responsible for cleaning your blood. So, why is the most mineral-dense plant on the continent treated as a social pariah? Why do we spend money to eradicate something that would cost nothing to harvest? The answer is economics dressed as public safety. You cannot patent a weed. You cannot create artificial scarcity for something that grows in every disturbed soil from Alaska to Argentina. You cannot sell a $40 multivitamin if everyone discovers there is a mineral bomb growing behind their shed. The sting was the perfect marketing opportunity. By focusing on the temporary discomfort, the industry convinced us to classify our own medicine as an enemy. They gave us herbicides to kill it. They gave us landscaping norms that demanded its removal. They gave us a cultural narrative that equated nettles with neglect, with poor property management, with failure to control nature properly. And in exchange, they gave us supplements synthesized in laboratories, minerals chelated to compounds our bodies barely recognize, capsules that cost dollars per dose for nutrients we could harvest by the pound for free. We pay to kill the cure so we can pay to treat the deficiency the killing created. This is not conspiracy. This is commerce operating exactly as designed. The sting itself deserves examination because understanding it changes everything. Those tiny hairs covering the leaves and stems are not ordinary plant fibers. They are hollow needles made of silica, pure biological glass. Under extreme magnification, each hair looks like a hypodermic syringe with a bulb at the base and a fragile tip at the top. When your skin brushes against the plant, those glass tips break off and penetrate your epidermis. The pressure injects a cocktail of compounds directly into your tissue. Formic acid creates the initial burn. Histamine triggers the inflammatory response. Serotonin amplifies the pain signal. Acetylcholine prolongs the sensation. Your body responds to this micro-assault with a cascade of immune activation. Blood rushes to the affected area. White blood cells mobilize. Inflammatory pathways that may have been sluggish suddenly fire at full capacity. This is hormesis, the principle that small doses of stress trigger disproportionately large adaptive responses, the same principle that makes exercise build muscle, that makes cold exposure increase brown fat, that makes fasting trigger cellular repair. The nettle sting is not an attack. It is a wake-up call. It is acupuncture delivered by evolution, available for free, calibrated by millions of years of plant-animal interaction. The Romans understood this. They used the sting intentionally. Modern medicine has forgotten it because you cannot charge for a process that requires nothing but contact with a wild plant. Harvesting nettles requires respect but not fear. The sting is easily neutralized once you understand its mechanism. Heat destroys the formic acid and denatures the proteins in the injection cocktail. Drying collapses the hollow needles so they can no longer puncture skin. Crushing breaks the silica tips before they can break inside you. Any of these approaches transforms the biological weapon into harmless, delicious nutrition. For fresh harvest, wear thick gloves. Leather or rubber both work. Grip the stem firmly and cut with scissors or a knife. The pressure of a confident grip often prevents stinging because it crushes the hairs before they can inject. Harvest the top 4 to 6 inches of new growth, where the leaves are youngest and most tender. Avoid plants that have flowered, as the texture becomes fibrous and the flavor turns bitter after reproductive maturity. Once you have your harvest, the simplest preparation is the blanch. 30 seconds in boiling water deactivates all stinging compounds completely. The leaves turn a deeper green. The texture becomes silky. What emerges is not medicine that tastes like punishment. It tastes like concentrated spring. Earthy, rich, satisfying in a way that industrial greens cannot replicate. For maximum mineral extraction, make a nettle infusion. Pack a quart jar full of dried nettle leaves. Pour boiling water to the top. Seal it and let it steep for 4 to 8 hours, or overnight. The extended contact time pulls every milligram of calcium, every trace of boron, every molecule of chlorophyll from the plant fiber into the water. The resulting liquid is dark green and deeply nourishing. Drink it cold. Drink it daily. Watch what happens to your energy levels within a week. Location matters for harvest as it does for every wild food. Avoid nettles growing near roads where heavy metals accumulate in the soil. Avoid agricultural margins where herbicide drift contaminates wild plants. Avoid areas with heavy animal traffic or unknown chemical history. Find nettles in forest edges, along streams, in abandoned lots that have been untouched for years. The best patches grow in rich, moist soil with partial shade. They often appear in the same locations year after year, forming reliable colonies that can supply a family indefinitely with proper harvesting rotation. Take no more than 1/3 of any patch. Leave the rest to regenerate and feed the ecosystem that depends on it. Nettles are keystone species for dozens of butterfly and moth caterpillars. Harvesting responsibly ensures the supply continues for you and for the wildlife that evolved alongside this plant. The nettle represents a category of knowledge that industrial food systems have systematically suppressed, not through conspiracy in smoke-filled rooms, but through the simple economic logic of replacement. Every wild food you learn to harvest is a product you stop buying. Every mineral you extract from free plants is a supplement that loses a customer. Every skill you develop for feeding yourself is a dependency that dissolves. The mower is the tool of the uninformed. The harvest is the tool of the sovereign. That stinging patch behind your shed is not a problem to be solved with chemicals. It is a vault waiting to be opened. It contains more calcium than the dairy industry wants you to know about. It contains iron that does not require factory farming. It contains protein that grows without seed purchases or fertilizer inputs. It contains a sting that will wake your immune system up in ways that no pill can replicate. Next time you see those serrated leaves with their threatening hairs, do not reach for gloves to pull them out. Reach for gloves to harvest them in. Do not see a nuisance. See a pharmacy that the earth provides without asking for payment. The pain is temporary. The knowledge is permanent. The minerals are waiting. You have been taught to see a threat where there is actually treasure. You have been conditioned to reach for poison when you should be reaching for a harvest basket. 4,000 years of human wisdom did not get it wrong. The Romans did not march across Europe beating themselves with a useless weed. The Danish did not wrap their honored dead in worthless fiber. Your great-grandparents did not boil spring nettles every year because they lacked better options. They knew what the supplement aisle has made us forget. The best nutrition is not manufactured. It is grown, it is wild, it stings a little, and it is absolutely free to anyone willing to learn its name and respect its boundaries. Subscribe now. The next vault we open might be growing even closer than this one.